purely a business finance problem. So I don't want to sound too negative, because it was inhibitors, so I wanted to give you some, but at the same time, I think we should be positive about cloud computing. It's not a fad. It is something still fairly new, but I would say we're kind of slowly growing into this maturity phase. It's a major paradigm shift, but it's here to stay. And we can either jump onto the wave now and start to learn how we can use these new vehicles, or we can wait and it will go past us. I think we need to explain to our business people what cloud is. Not in technical terms. Cloud is, for me, very often a business model. It's not technology. It's a new way of doing business, flexible, elasticity, pay as you go. Explain that to your business leaders, to your people in your organization. Because once they see the potential, they will give you the freedom to start to play with it, and will give you the budget. One big hitter we found in Swiss Post, they had reasonably complex HA clusters, HA solutions based on Sun Solaris, which cost literally millions. When we reassessed the high availability requirements, we realized that maybe with something like VMware HA or vMotion, the requirements were met, and we didn't even need some of these highly expensive complex HA solutions. So sometimes virtualization brings you enough HA into the solution that you can get rid of some of the technical hard stuff. You need to work with the technical staff too. Get them on board, get them excited, give them a project to play with, so they don't see it as a threat, but they see it as an opportunity. Maybe identify one or two projects, let them play with, and then celebrate the success. Because once you see that things are working, people see the technological background or technological success, the business success, then you can expand from there. Okay, that's me. I hope that was of interest, and I was able to give you any pointers. If you have any specific questions, you can ask them right after this, or drop me an email, and I'm happy to give you as much information as you need and try to help you. Back to you, Mahesha.
Thank you very much, Philip. It was a very interesting presentation, and I'm sure that after this presentation, participants are more aware of not only the inhibitors but also the practical solutions that has more probability of success. Now the floor is open for questions. If you have any questions, please click the raise hand button or type the question using the questions tab. I will unmute you so that you can ask the question directly to the presenter.
Doesn't seem to be any questions.
Doesn't seem to be any question. I have a question of my own. Phil, do you see that this migration to the cloud is more of a typical management or a change management that we have read about and heard about in the typical management textbook? Do you think that there is more flavor of typical change management problem, or do you think that there are certain cloud-specific elements which have made it even harder than a typical change management?
It is a bit of both, but I would say it's probably 20% cloud and 80% traditional lifecycle change management. Mm-hmm. Because when we went through the Swiss Post, for example, again to be specific, we came up with something like 800 different servers, physical servers, that build something like 300 different services. Mm-hmm. Now, that is a logistical challenge because each of the service, they have somebody that is what they call a service responsible person. It's like an account manager. So they go to their customers and say, okay, we need to take your system down because we want to move it, or we want to put a new release in or patch. So first, these kind of service managers, they need to engage with the clients, so they need to discuss mm-hmm. downtime and changes. Mm-hmm. Then once they have the windows when they can go through these changes, because it needs to be signed off with the internal customers, then they need to go to the IT teams and say, okay, that's the time you can do it. Then it needs to be scheduled. Very often in that part of that change, it has firewalling, VLAN, networking changes that come into play, pure P2V, which is just migrating from physical to virtual images. And the whole thing actually is a logistical challenge. It's not such a huge technical challenge. This can be automated a lot. But we felt that with about 800 servers and 300 services, I pushed really hard that we appoint a program manager just for the transformation, and underneath there will be sub-project managers that will manage the data center, the service, the network, because it is so complex. So from a change management point of view, I have to admit it is quite challenging.
Thank you. Andy Hopkirk, he says that it was an excellent presentation. He has no questions but just a compliment. So it was a good overview, he feels.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
And there's one question from Philip White. Philip, I have unmuted you. He has also typed a question here. What Philip White wants to know is, do you know which UK universities are doing research on enterprise cloud computing? It's not by enterprise he means non-scientific.
I'm aware that there is quite a lot of stuff happening at the Newcastle University. Although that's, I believe, is a mix of scientific and business. There is a company called Arjuna. It's ARJUNA, I believe.
Yeah.
They are currently working on what is going to be the next big thing. The next big thing is what I call federation. So that many companies will have their internal resources maybe for 70% average load, and then they will push peak loads, maybe seasonal things over Christmas or when they have end of month, and they will push these into the public cloud. But some people think you can just at the push of a magic button get that out of your data center into an external data center. Now that is not possible. You need more than that. You need a software layer that does that federation or hybrid cloud. And there is stuff happening at the University of Newcastle I'm aware of. I think in terms of other university, you're probably the better person to answer that.
Yeah, we have one more person who could give a better answer than that. We have Nigel Derrett. Nigel, I'm unmuting you. Could you please add a few words to this?
Yeah, there's a program going on across UK universities called LSITs, Large Scale Complex IT Systems, and they've just started a cloud research program, and that's mainly the universities of Bristol and St Andrews working on that.
May I ask you a question? Is this linked to the HB Labs stuff? Because I know HB Labs are very active with Bristol.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a link to them. The website is, I think, lscits.org, I think. I'm just trying to find their...
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, www.lscits.org.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm aware of another person. He is based at the University of Edinburgh, but he's more an individual. I'm just trying to remember his full name. It's Paul something. He was chairing LISA, the large-scale Unix conference in San Diego, I think, 2 years ago. Is it Paul Anderson? Yes, he is part of the School of Informatics in Edinburgh, but he's more looking into that as an individual, not from a university point of view. And I know he is working with the guys in Bristol and the HB guys.
There's also a view expressed by Matteo Turilli. Matteo, I'm unmuting you.
Yeah, hi there. Matteo Turilli from Oxford Research Center here. Well, we have some small-scale projects here involving cloud computing, and one is with the National Grid Systems, and we have some prototypes of YAS. And another one is FLESSER, and that is a project for integrating private clouds with public clouds.
Are you guys working on the same technology as Arjuna and Newcastle, or is that something that is just similar purpose but different technology underneath?
I'm not acquainted with that project, but we are using Eucalyptus and open source based solutions. So
okay, okay.
And shortly we are going to launch a special interest group on large-scale complex IT systems as part of Digital Systems KTN. So you can look forward to more activity under that thread. And we are trying to get Arjuna to show us how to build a private cloud sometime in January next year. We are thinking of running exclusive hands-on cloud computing session. There won't be, in that session there will be no PPT presentation, it's all hands-on. You'll have 6 to 7 different companies coming and showing how to do things. So I'm trying to put together this event with the help of Royal Society of Scotland based in Edinburgh. So you will get more details on it soon. And we have
Excellent.
one question from Gillian. Gillian, 1 minute, I'll unmute you. Yeah, Gillian.
Oh, hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, good. It was just the same old question about what is grid or what is cloud. And there's an awful lot of talk of private clouds and whether that's really cloud. I know it's a question that's been over again and again, but I was interested in your view.
I mean, I give you an example, and it will show you why I'm sometimes a bit reluctant to really go into that conversation. At Swiss Post, they had reasonably large Oracle farms, server as a DB farms. They had a .NET Microsoft web farm, and somebody in the Swiss Post kind of, in my view, incorrectly thought this is not cloud. We have to put that on top of VMware or onto a public cloud and virtualize it. And my view was, why on earth would you want to do that? Because in a way what you're offering is platform as a service. Underneath, you're not using any virtualization like Hyper-V or Xen or VMware, but the virtualization or the sharing of the platform is done at the platform software layer. So falsely, sometimes people think you need to have a virtual container underneath that is a virtual machine that you can talk about cloud or about that. And my view is, if I have a DB farm, Oracle shared farm, or I have a DB.NET web farm, for me this is a cloud too. It's just a different way of technology underneath. It's typically a platform as a service, where sometimes if you look at an Amazon or Symetriq or GoGrid, these are typically infrastructure services where you just get a virtual machine of Linux or Windows. So the question then between public and private is typically very simplified. Private is it's in your own data center, you run it yourself, you own the kit, you own the capex, which is very often not what people want anymore. They want to get rid of the capex. So therefore, when you go into a public cloud, you lease or you rent resources. You don't pay for the hardware, you do that through the service. So I would say that's probably a very high level difference between public and private. But we already know that not every company will go completely public because it's too risky. So there will be this hybrid, and that's really where I believe the big changes will come over the next 2-3 years, where there is software that can do the federation between what you have is maybe 70% standard load, and then you can push stuff out into any kind of cloud. And that's really where the intelligence is. And I haven't seen really the complete solution yet where you can do that seamlessly without having to change the applications.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It's interesting,
Okay.
thank you.
Any more questions? Oh, by the way, we are getting 2 professors, one Jim Austin and Paul Watson. Jim Austin from University of York and Paul Watson from Newcastle University. They are going to talk about how they have used the cloud to solve their R&D related problems within the university.